That's actually where we get the term gaslighting from. Being black in America is a lot like being Truman from The Truman Show. Have you seen the movie?
What's good, you guys, and welcome back again on another episode. How are you all doing? I hope you guys are doing great. And if you're joining for the very first time, thank you so much for being here today. In this video, we are going to be talking about a Nikki Haley video that has been going viral. She was recently asked a question on TV, and according to what she said, she lied, because that is not the truth. What she said on TV has gotten a lot of people asking themselves if it is still the same United States that she is talking about. Nikki Haley is a candidate in the 2024 Republican Party, and you guys know they have been doing so many campaigns, and everybody is trying to win people to their side. And she was asked about the United States, but the response she gave has gotten people talking, because people are not having the fact that you have to lie and dismiss what black people have had to go through and tell us that racism in the United States does not exist. Without wasting much time, let me just roll the clip, because I have put this together, what she said in that interview, and as well what people are saying about her video.
Are you involved in a racist party?
No. We're not a racist country, Brian. We've never been a racist country. Our goal is to make sure that today is better than yesterday. Are we perfect? No. But our goal is to always make sure we try and be more perfect every day that we can. I know I faced racism when I was growing up, but I can tell you today is a lot better than it was then. Our goal is to lift up everybody, not go and divide people on race or gender or party or anything else. We've had enough of that in America. That's why I'm so passionate about doing this. I don't want my kids growing up where they're sitting there thinking that they're disadvantaged because of a color or a gender. I want them to know that if they work hard, they can do and be anything they want to be in. I've never been a racist country.
Is she talking about the same United States between Canada and Mexico, the one that devastated the indigenous population, or the one that, enslaved minds for 400 years? Somebody.
We're not a racist country, Brian. We've never been a racist country.
There's an old 1930s Victorian play by a man named Patrick Hamilton, where a husband drives his wife to it, truly believing that she's crazy by continuing to change the intensity of the gas lights around the house, and every time she talks about it, he's like, what are you talking about? You're imagining it. That's actually where we get the term gaslighting from. Being black in America is a lot like being Truman from The Truman Show. Have you seen the movie? Throughout the whole movie, he's pointing at all the evidence that's pretty obvious that he's a part of some social experiment. And every time he says it to someone around him, how do they respond? They go, what are you talking about, Truman? What do you mean? This is the same conceptual sleight of hand that Nikki Haley and other white Americans have been doing, frankly, since the end of the Jim Crow era and slavery itself. What are you talking about? What racism? What do you mean? The best way to understand this is to understand this psychological study of semiotic theory. In semiotic theory, you have a sign. Then you have context around that sign. From that sign and the context, you get a meaning. And then with that meaning, you elicit a response. In this example, the sign would be the legal torture of black and brown people in America for hundreds of years. The context around that sign is that the torture was fueled by the hatred of black and brown people. That together equals slavery was racist and America was racist. But the response that Nikki Haley gives isn't in line with everything that we just talked about. So by responding that way, the way that Nikki Haley did and the way that a lot of white Americans do, they do something very particular. It's not an accident. They begin to call into question the context with which the sign was interpreted, so that when people see that response that doesn't line up, they begin to look for another context to explain that response. Some people are going to say, oh, she was on TV, she just was maybe rushed. And let me just say this to you from a person that's been around a lot of white people. She responded to that question with the flagrant disregard of black suffering that already existed inside of her.
We're not a racist country, Brian. We've never been a racist country.
So Nikki Haley's first name is actually Nimarata, right? Both of her parents are of Indian descent. And this is a trend that you see amongst Republicans of color predominantly, whereas we might watch the things that they say about racism, specifically things like slavery was not fought over racism or America has never been a racist country. And we're like, you lived in the shadow of racism. You grew up in the shadow of racism. You yourself said that people were racist to you throughout your day-to-day life. And so it makes sense when you look at it from the perspective of there is so much internalized racism within that person already. She changes her name. Somebody like Ted Cruz, right? Instead of going by his first name, Raphael, he goes by the name Ted to sort of whitewash himself or more Americanize himself, whatever they, will say. And so I think when we look at things from that perspective, it's easier to understand where those kinds of statements come from because they literally believe those things, right? That dark part of the experience that they've personally gone through, the reality of the country that they've seen from a firsthand perspective has been so deeply buried that it's much easier for them personally to believe these kinds of narratives that racism is not, part of the fabric of our country, right? We can skew the narrative around slavery to be like it was fought over general states' rights or something like that. But as a white person, I have to tell you, there is a reason why candidates like Daniel Cameron or Herschel Walker make it all the way just to the edge of the finish line and then can't cross it, right? Because white Republicans, white conservatives, white people in general, my friend, love to tokenize people of color until it comes to actually placing those people in places of leadership. It's beautiful to spin your cultural narrative and say, look, Black people are with us, right? Indian people are with us. We have a racially diverse coalition. Our positions can't be racist. But then you look at the hurdles that these people have to jump through in order to be accepted. But then those same people are perfectly comfortable placing you behind Donald Trump to create an image, perfectly comfortable screaming Herschel Walker's son out of a bar, a Black conservative Republican who has claimed that Donald Trump is one of the greatest presidents of all time, still chanted out of a MAGA event in a bar because they thought the cameras were not on. Regardless of what they say, the American white conservative movement is deeply racist. They know they are racist, and they love when you are willing to burn your identity at the stake, sacrificing yourself for a movement that you legitimately think that you're going to become a part of. But when it comes to actually handing over the gavel of leadership, white conservatives are never going to pick you.
No, we're not a racist country, Brian. We've never been.
Says Nimrata Randwa from Punjab that we're not a racist country. People just make me wonder sometimes. Nimrata Randwa, you're from a Sikh family, a Punjabi family. You're a child of an immigrant. You're a product of immigration. And you're going to sit here and tell us where we are is not a racist country. Kire pare tujhe. That's all I can say. Have a good day.
Racist country, Brian. We've never been a racist country. Our goal is to make sure that today is better.
Hi. This may get banned. I'm quite sure this will probably get banned, but I just refuse not to be a voice for justice, racial equality, and for my people. As a Black man in America, I have to represent our people because there are many people that are in my position that are scared because of their connections and because they're afraid to lose out on certain opportunities. But if you really pay attention to what she said, America is not a racist country, and it's never been a racist country. We're just trying to move. Isn't it amazing that the atrocities they're trying to move forward to tell us to get over those years, get over what happened in the past, and we should get over it. But if we have to forget about, if we have to remember Pearl Harbor, innocent Americans killed, if we have to remember 9/11, innocent Americans killed, and so many other examples of innocent Americans being killed, but yet we have commemorations every year of these particular events. But yet when it comes to slavery and things of that nature, we're supposed to forget about it. That's kind of partial what I want to talk about. But she says, America's not a racist country, and it never has been a racist country. If you say something the right way, in a certain context, people will begin to believe it as if it's true when it's really not true. America's not a racist country, but was built on the backs of slaves. But when you are in the mindset of privilege and caucasity, some, not all, you will think that, you know what, this is the greatest country in the world, and we must remember those who built this country, but simultaneously put the ones who really built this country on the back burner. But we're not a racist country, and we never have been a racist country. Back to the original thesis, if you say something in a certain way, so many people are going to believe it. And this is something that is repeated over and over and over again, that it's not a racist country, when in reality, we see plethoras of examples in Mississippi where people were finding bodies behind a police station. It's literally all over the world as far as treatment towards people of color in America. But when she says it's a racist country, it's not a racist country. And she says it long enough. People who don't look like me will begin to believe that it's not a racist country because they have never had to deal with any racial issues. They have never participated in any racial riots. They've never participated in any racial discrimination. So in their own part of the world, they really don't believe that it exists. But again, if you say something in a certain way for so long, people will begin to believe it. 1939, if you would, Orson Welles, came out with War of the Worlds based on the H.G. Wells screenplay. 1939 on the radio, 1938, 39. What happened was Orson Welles jumped on the radio. He had a distinctive voice. He said things in the right context. He had the proper diction. He had the proper tone. And the way he said what he said on the radio, it made millions of people think that there was a Martian invasion. He said the wrong thing the right way, and he incited panic. And everyone who heard his voice, almost everyone who heard his voice, said, the Martians are coming, because he said something in a certain context, in a certain way, in a certain pitch in his voice, and the people who heard his voice believed it. And as long as we have politicians that are saying there's no such thing as race in this country and they need to quit complaining, but yet people of color are still being hung. People of color are still being discriminated against. They're trying to undo affirmative action because they tell us that everybody should work their hardest, but yet we have so many in position who are legacies, nepotism beneficiaries, where they've had people in high places who just given them jobs and they weren't qualified, but yet people of color who have way more qualifications than them are tossed to the side. So it is a country that is full of racial issues. It is. We could possibly solve it. And as a pastor, I hear people say all the time, well, Pastor, you need to let the politicians come into the church and talk about the issues. I don't do politicians in the church and the pulpit because I love my Caucasian brothers who are, in politics. I love my Caucasian sisters, but I don't need you coming to tell our church that racism is wrong. I need you to go to the people that you go to church with and you tell them racism is wrong. Yeah, I'm out.
We're not a racist country, Brian. We've never been a racist country.
During the Iowa caucus, one voter said that they don't like Vivek Ramaswamy's name and they don't like where he comes from, and after 9/11 they still harbor a lot of those feelings. So I think even if you're someone like Vivek and you align yourself with the racist party and you continue to try to push racist policies and you blame immigrants and black people for a lot of the country's problems, the people that you are pandering to will still turn against you just because you look funny and your name makes them think of 9/11. You can change your name, like Nikki did from Nimrata to Nikki Haley, but this racist country you live in will still turn against you.
This lady really pisses me off. If we're not a racist country and we don't have any racism, girl, then why your daddy had to go teach at a HBCU? He literally couldn't get a job because of his race. Because if that's the case, your dad would have taught at Clemson, USC, College of Charleston, the Citadel, or what's that real racist college upstate, like Bob Smith or something like that? Yeah.
Are you involved in a racist party?
No, we're not a racist country.
Well, Nikki, or is it Nimrata? Which one is it? History has something to say about that, because I think history will disagree with you. Also, aren't you the one who does everything she can to hide her true heritage? But okay, if you say so, then you must be right. I just can't with these people. I just can't with these people. Denial is a strong river to swim across.
What do you guys think about our response that America is not a racist country? As a child of an immigrant, as someone who openly said in the same context and the same line that growing up she experienced racism, but still saying it in that same line that America is not a racist country, I think is very questionable, and it shows that they are not genuine in whatever it is they have towards the people, and they're just saying that because they're running for a position. Because there is no way you will say you are in a place, or you grew up in a place where you experience racism, just to come on TV and present it to people and say, no, it's not a racist country, it's better. You yourself have to change your name, your real traditional name, Nimrata, and change it to Nikki, and you are saying America is not a racist country. We have seen people who have been in this same situation talking about their name. The moment they change their name, they start getting applications. When they use their normal traditional name, nobody sees them, nobody wants to hire them. But the moment they change their name, which is almost the same thing being done in our context, because why are you not going by your traditional name if you know it's not a racist country? Why are you lying boldly on a national TV? The people are not having it at all. If the racism you faced as a child forced you to change your name in that same country, but still trying to convince people now because you're running for a position, or now trying to convince people that it doesn't exist. I agree to the stitch that said that she is literally dismissing and throwing away the struggles and the pain that Black and people of color have had to deal with for years. It's built on Black sweat, but then it does not matter because, yeah, it's not so common anymore. Racism still exists. We still see them every single day. Why are you trying to convince people that racism doesn't exist? I would like to hear what you guys think in the comment section. Thank you all so much for joining. And if you've not subscribed, please subscribe before you go and turn your bell notification on. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. And I love you guys.